Hi, everyone. I am so excited that you are here for our bonus content from our most recent special episode where I got to have a lovely conversation with the incredible, talented Kolarp M. Hey, Kolarp.
Hello, Eric. It's nice to be here. I'm glad that I finally got to be on your podcast. I've always heard of it, and so I was like, one day.
Oh, well, did you have fun? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was a lot of fun for sure. I get to reminisce about random nerd things, so that's
Uh,
always good.
Well, fantastic. I loved it, and you'll have to come back so we can play some more games because as you know, we just really got started really with that. We could go on forever.
Oh man, the rambling continues. Yeah,
Yes.
I could go on for sure.
So I'm really excited for this because this is something I've wanted to do for a while. This is only going to be a video. This is bonus content. So if you listen to the podcast and you heard about this, and one thing that I have always wanted to do is like since we've got these great guests coming on like Kolarp, it's we showed some of her art, but also there's so much more to it than anything that I could have tried to squeeze into GrishaCast. So I love that we are doing this, which is an opportunity for all of you out there that are followers of hers or are just interested in art and figuring it out or just interested in seeing this. This is going to be a really cool journey, and I'm just going to take a seat and just watch. But I'm really excited for you to take us on this journey. I'm sure a lot of people really have been waiting for this.
Oh yeah, I'm sort of an enigma to some people. Like people ask a lot of questions on why on earth I am doing what I am doing. But I mean the too long didn't read of it is that I just enjoy it.
Hey, that's a great answer. So I love it. Okay, well, let's just dive on into this. So, I mean, morning doodles. That is where a lot of people that are your followers or have heard of them, and like that you came up with that. I mean, cute little name, by the way.
Thank you.
You got to make sure you get it all right with that. Naming is sometimes hard. So why are more why are these called morning doodles when supposedly they like? I mean, if you look at these do not look like doodles. My doodles don't look like that.
Well, for one, everybody's doodles look different. So
Yes.
maybe my paintings are stick figures. You don't know. They're just
Oh.
labels. But yeah, so they started out as doodles. So I will actually share with you guys some of my early doodles. Well,
Wow.
the earliest ones that I've posted. So let me share my screen. All right. So this is probably the first one that I posted, and I did not post it to my main platform, which is Instagram. I posted it to Twitter because I
Wow.
was like, oh, this is just the garbage can of artists where they just throw whatever in, right? So I was like, oh yeah, I won't even like it's just like I even imitated like a pencil sketch, right? And I was doing these as like 20 to 30-minute doodles before I started exercising. So you'll see that like I actually have like these characters look like they're still laying in bed. Nikolai is drawing Zoya. Um in this
Wow.
one, Tolia is working out and Nikolai is his spotter. Zoya is working out. So you can see my headspace is I have woken up and
Wow.
I'm going to exercise.
That's
So like
incredible.
thank you. Yeah. And so like I didn't explain any of this when I started posting. So people just assumed like, oh, it's just gonna be Grishaverse fan art, right? Um but they were unexpectedly popular, and people kept telling me I should like post it onto my main platform and stuff. And so I was like, okay, like I guess I'll share them, but like they have to be in a pile so that it's not just one drawing. So I started posting them in like little stacks of images, maybe like 4 or 5 images, right?
Okay.
And there's actually a reason why I like to make them fast. And it's because I wanted to learn concept art when I was in college, right? And a lot of what concept arts do is they take a idea or something written down or a director's instruction or whatever, and they turn it into like a visual image, right? And a lot of times you have to do it on the spot or within one day or whatever. So it's actually really good to practice
Wow.
being fast.
Yeah.
For that kind of job. Yeah. So you'll see here
It's like
I have
like
yeah,
improv
yeah.
for the artist.
That's actually a great description. Yes. So it's like improv, right? And there's actually groups dedicated to artists speed painting and stuff. I don't want people to get the wrong impression and think like, oh, if you're fast, that means you're a good artist. It's really a
Oh,
different.
no.
It's its own skill. It's sort of separate from being good at drawing or being able to discern form and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah.
sort of getting into like the next thing I was going to talk about, which is daily spit paints. So before I started doing these doodles, I was actually in a Facebook group called Daily Spit Paint. And what we would do is we would get like uh 3 words or phrases, and we got to choose like 2 of them, and then we would like put those into like one painting, but we only had 30 minutes to work on it, right? If you went over 30 minutes, you were like breaking the rules. Not that anyone was gonna get you for that, but
Right.
like yeah, like, and I think most people cheated and like worked on them for an hour or something. I definitely cheated once or twice.
That's not fair.
Yeah, but you know, we're desperate.
Hey, you
We
gotta
want to
get
like we
gotta
want to
get
finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Uh-huh.
did want to say, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted to
Mhm.
agree with when you mentioned about the speed painting, how important that is for people to realize. Like, I mean, yeah, speed painting is like, I mean, it's a. I feel like, and maybe you can tell me. I feel like if you're doing something like that, it's about getting your craft better, and you can use that in like writing or any kind of hobby. It's more about just trying to like it's about practice and really just trying to fine tune your craft. Isn't that isn't
Yeah.
okay.
Um yeah, like the so you learn stuff like lighting, form, how to draw in perspective, which people hate doing. You learn like the elements of design, you like learn elements of composition, all these things
Hmm.
and then you have to learn those slowly, right? But when you speed paint, it's the culmination of all the things that you've trained yourself to do, right?
Gotcha.
Just like a dance number, or like I don't know, if you're gonna do something in gymnastics and jump over something, like you've trained each little element of that action individually over time so that you could do it smoothly in one go. And it's almost like performative art,
Yeah.
like improv you were saying, like where like you're like I'm going to take this idea or like these words, I'm going to process them through my brain, and then I'm going to compose them into an image that's readable and understandable to the audience. And I'm going to use my technical skills to like create something visual that everybody can understand, right? So it's
Wow.
like a lot of steps. And for morning doodles, like I'm doing all of those steps, and like at least the early ones, I was doing them in a short amount of time, right?
Okay.
So and then the reason that I joined the, because you would think like, oh, wouldn't you just draw whatever you wanted? Like you could just say, oh, I want to draw fairies today, or I want to draw a prince today. But if you let yourself choose, you will end up drawing only things that you're used to drawing or things that you're good at. And you'll never really push yourself to try something that you haven't tried unless you
Oh,
sort of like have someone else naming a challenge for you, right?
yes,
Um
ma'am. Come on, Oprah. Inspire. Yes. Challenge yourself.
yeah, it's actually, I feel really important to feel uncomfortable sometimes. If you're
Yes.
yeah, if you're looking to become like a professional artist, because a lot of times the jobs that are comfortable or things that people like normally can do or whatever aren't don't really exist because like they're all
Uh,
taken or there's it's the things that are hard to do that people really have trouble finding someone to hire,
yes.
like for instance, if you know how to use like ZBrush or you know how to draw in perspective, like those are actually more annoying to learn, like painful to learn. And when you say that you could do those things, you're like automatically like a lot rarer. And like, a lot of times people will come to you because nobody else can do that skill, right? Or they don't know anybody that can do
Yeah.
that skill. So being able to challenge yourself to draw like a variety of different things and having someone else gives you the prompt is actually really useful and really important for like a professional artist. Of course, if you're a hobbyist, to draw whatever you want. You could draw a fly that's sitting on your wall or whatever. I
Well,
think that art for the spirit is like just as important, right?
well, for sure, absolutely. Draw what you want, but also I think it's very
Uh-huh.
important for us to all like challenge ourselves, and you can
Yeah.
do that with everything. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
the easy way out. Usually, like, I mean, yeah, challenge yourself because that's what makes you better. It really is.
Yeah, it really, yeah. And if people are wondering, like, oh, it's easy for you to say because you've been doing it for so long. We're like, no, I'm uncomfortable every day. And like, it's my fault because I did it to myself. I'm like, well, I've never done this thing, but I'm gonna see if I can do it today, right? Like, I am fully aware that like I am constantly putting myself purposely, just like joining daily
Yeah.
spit paints or doing more doodles, like I am using Leigh Bardugo's writing, like her descriptions of like a beautiful palace, and I'm like, I have to somehow achieve this. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it, but I will try.
Right. Hey,
But yeah.
that's amazing. And most people never even try. Like, I mean, that's the thing. They usually would get overwhelmed with something. They'd see all the elements, like, this podcast, for example. Lord, if you go back to episode 1, which I
Mhm.
really don't want people to, but if you
Do it.
do, then you will hear me having no clue what I'm doing, scared. I'm very uncomfortable, and I hate being uncomfortable. But oh my gosh, I didn't start to actually feel comfortable until I know definitely like halfway through the first series, and like it took a while, but I love your advice on like, it's really important to be uncomfortable. I think I'm going to start trying to find ways to make myself uncomfortable because it's a learning experience. But please go ahead with the
Spit paint,
spit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
spit.
You could just sit on a chair with like spikes on it, and then you'll be uncomfortable perpetually. Then you'll be a master at all things.
Oh my god. Oh, I could be a
Yeah, take
Buddha.
take my advice literally.
Yes,
No, definitely don't do that, guys. We need a disclaimer like
we
all
do.
violent suggestions by Kolarp should not be practiced.
Only a couple things listen to us. Yeah.
Yeah, 50%. It's a
Right.
random draw on what the good ones are.
Okay, so what's this
Uh-huh.
painting? So what is this spit painting that
Oh
I
yeah,
am
yeah.
looking?
So I was gonna talk about it and I forgot. So this is one of the spit paintings. I think I don't know. It might have been like knitting or sewing and like uh grandmother or something. Like I sort of just took two words and sort of like molded them together and
Uh-huh.
created like this horror film poster almost like this grandmother stitching a quilt out of like human flesh and stuff, and you could see like this
Oh,
face right here. But
yeah.
yeah, so I was like, oh, this is like really cool, and I would have never made myself paint this unless like someone gave me two random words for a prompt, right? Like this is like drawing grandmothers stitching together quilts out of human flesh is not something I normally do.
Well, right.
Right? And this one, I'm pretty sure I kept this one at like 30 minutes or whatever, but um don't be discouraged if you guys try spit paints or quick paints and then they don't turn out good. Like it takes practice for sure. And I've been practicing digital painting since I was really young. So um
Y-
yeah, like, so sometimes some of the daily spit paintings are just like garble. Like I can't even read them, but they tried. That's more
Yeah.
than sitting on your couch.
For someone that
Uh-huh.
really wants to start digital painting and
Mhm.
is like, I mean, just has nothing. They got an iPad,
Mhm.
maybe they have a laptop. Do you have any suggestions on like, I mean, Like,
Uh-huh. Oh,
what do you, is there an
it,
app? What kind, like, where do you start?
yeah, this is actually one of my most commonly asked questions. Someone
Okay.
asks me this like maybe once every 2 weeks or
Day.
something. So this is actually good that I'm answering here. iPad is amazing. So when I was younger, I had like Microsoft Paint and a mouse and like a
Wow.
Windows 98. Like it was like I was doing pixel art, not really digital like
Yeah.
painting that you see today. So like now we have tools for you to be really good really fast, right? Not that speed should matter that much. Diligence is more important than
Yeah.
speed when it comes to like learning the basics, right? So if you have an iPad, the advantage of that is that you can carry it around wherever, like a sketchbook, but you can also get used to digital painting, which you could learn traditional painting and then transfer those skills into digital painting, but it's an extra step. So if you just want to straight up learn digital painting, but with the convenience of traditionally carrying stuff around and like an iPad and an iPad pencil, Apple Pencil, yeah, those are
Yeah.
like yeah, a great combination. I personally like Procreate, but there's other programs like there's actually a Photoshop for iPad now, and then there's oh man, I know that there's more programs. I have one on my
Yeah.
phone, but it's hard to remember all of them.
Okay.
Infinite Painter is a good one. That one I have on my phone actually. Um,
Well,
Art Rage is also another program, but yeah.
that's
Mhm,
a great place to start. I mean, I even have
mhm.
Procreate.
Nice.
I'm
Uh-huh.
horrible at it though. Like, I mean, like, I really am. Like,
Uh-huh.
my art. Like, I wanted to be an artist so bad. I just forced myself to be one. And like, so all my paintings, or
Mhm.
anything like that, they're abstract. That's what I call
Oh,
them. Yeah.
dude, okay, there's truly like some real like grit behind like learning how to make something abstract but compose well. Like it's actually a really useful skill. And I didn't even realize how important it was to be able to take abstract things and arrange them to communicate something well until I went to like art school and I was like, "Oh, that's what abstract paintings are, right?" So,
Wow.
I have a respect for abstract paintings. I have respect for stick figures and children's drawings too, but that's like another story.
Yeah. I am. I've got an iPencil and an iPad, and I've wanted to be able to try to do this, to get started, just to start somewhere. But to be honest, it
Mhm.
is like there's so much like information that you have to learn just to use the app, and if you're not used to
Mhm.
it at all, it gets confusing. But
Oh, yeah. I actually have advice on that too, because I'm just an old fogey. But, I think with today's technology and social media and everything, and I've said this, like, multiple times before on my social media platform, but, um, the key, I think, to
mhm.
learning is to take it one step at a time. So, like, if you wanna learn how to draw circles, that is one step that you could take, right? And it actually I actually spent, like, 6 months just drawing lines in my sketchbook, just straight lines.
What?
I would practice drawing place 1 dot and place another dot, and then try to connect them and make the line straight. And then each time you place the dots farther and farther away, and then it's more of a challenge to draw a straight line. Like, it has to look like you used a ruler, right?
Gotcha.
And it has to be like, one movement. You can't do like etch multiple movements. And I needed to learn that because I knew for my job or that I was pursuing concept art that I would have to draw like environments or vehicles or whatever. And those take lines, right? And they have to be clean lines. If I just etch a sketch those lines in, then it's gonna be hard to read and it's gonna be slower than just be having good draftsmanship, right?
Wow.
So, I just focused on that, and you think, "Oh, how do you end up, like, painting if you spent so long, like, drawing lines?" Well, it's like a multiplier, right? You learn how to draw lines, you learn the science of light, you learn the different surface materials, you learn all these things separately, and then eventually they're just, like, breathing to you, right? If you asked me to draw a box, I could just draw one. I've
Yeah.
internalized all the information. So, people may think that, like, "Oh, this is so tedious, I wanna learn fast, give it to me now or
Nope.
whatever." But
Mm-mm.
like but really like you have to build a good foundation. Build
Yeah.
your house upon a good foundation. You don't want to build it upon a soggy foundation or whatever, right?
Yes.
Um
Agreed.
but yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think
So
it's amazing to know that you started
Mhm.
drawing lines, and now we have this.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely, I mean, I get it. People get bored. You can draw your anime character in between, but, get good at one thing at a time
yeah.
in general.
So show us.
Having fun and getting good are sort of two different things sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Uh-huh.
a good lesson out there for
Mhm.
just those out there that, want to learn how to do something but really don't have the patience for it. You need to have the
Mhm.
patience for it. Because if you want to be
Sorry.
it's important. It's not an easy road, but sorry, we can't
Mhm.
just skate through life trying to teach my kid that.
It'll
Sorry.
make you rarer. It'll make the skill very rare because you're not the only impatient one, especially in this age of 2-second attention spans.
Yes. And that's why I think
Uh,
your art actually stands out. And I know that there is a lot of Grishaverse art on Instagram, for instance, and yours, though, completely stood out to me um, compared to all the others. And yes, I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I'm not gonna dog anybody's art because art is art, and we all are just like. I mean, it's important to be able to express yourself, and I love that. Um, but yours is very it stood out, and it shows that there's a lot of hard work that went into everything that you've done, and you can just see it that you've gone through. You haven't just been painting the things that you've wanted. You've studied really hard to get to where you are. So,
oh yeah, for sure. I actually had a manliness complex in college. Uh, I call it a manliness complex, so I don't know what else to call it. But for concept art, generally men get hired for those jobs, and it's usually like they're drawing tanks or cars or whatever. So like or like buildings or spaceships and stuff like that. And that's
huh,
like the cool thing, right? So I was like, oh man, I like fantasy novels, but I feel like I'm inferior unless I learn how to do all these things these dudes do, right? So
oh
that actually fueled a lot of me like learning stuff that I didn't necessarily feel comfortable with at first, but made me help me learn that like I needed to be uncomfortable to learn stuff, right? But yeah, I didn't even want to like be seen as a girl. Like I actually put all my hair in a hat, and I wore a big ski jacket, and like I've actually taken on jobs like Hasbro has me registered as a man because like I just communicated through email, and I preferred it that way because then they wouldn't like give me only jobs that only women get, like, oh, can you draw these bubble mods or these bubble creatures and this flower and this doll or whatever, right? So like I I understand now that I should just be who I am and not pretend to be someone else. But at the time that I was like getting into the art industry, I was so scared that
yeah,
like people were like, "Oh, like she's a girl." So
yeah,
like then they stereotype you as like this one thing. But now I draw romance novel stuff, so whatever.
exactly.
I like went full circle. Now I'm like, okay, whatever. Like some people from college in my early work days don't even recognize who I am because like I said, I hid like my gender and everything, and like, it was like
Wow.
a secret. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Side tangents.
I get it
uh
though. So show us
yeah, yeah.
another.
Uh-huh.
Show us some.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, because I'm
Oh,
sorry. That
actually.
granny, I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, granny. I was sitting there thinking too much on like how like what the words were, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't think about what the words were that she was given to draw this. We need to move on to the next painting.
Oh yeah, it was so long ago. This is like years ago. So, oh, this is another spit point. This will be like the only other spit paint that I saved on here. But
Wow.
so it's like I think it was like honeycomb structure or so, or it's honeycomb building or something like that. And I didn't have to choose those two, but I thought those two made an interesting combination. And yeah, and yet another thing that I would have never drawn unless someone gave me
Right.
some random words. You see little bears right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. That's like a concept art meme. It's not a meme. It's like used for scale reference, so you know how big something in the distance
Oh.
is. So a lot of concept art paintings, you'll see like a guy holding a stick or like a guy on a horse, and they always have it, and they're always in like the bottom right hand or left hand corner, right? So like as I was like, oh, this is my meme size character. It's actually two little bears.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I know all the
Interesting.
concept art students will understand.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
you're teaching me. So and I don't know anything about this, and this is literally something I would love to be able to kind of like start to dive into. So
oh
I'm just
yeah.
to try, just for fun. And
With all the books you read, you have no end of content to draw
oh
if
my
you wanted to
God,
try it.
uh, my imagination. Whew,
Oh yeah. Oh man.
that
All
is
right,
so
so
cute.
yeah. So next I wanna next question that I get asked a lot is like, do you draw
Oh,
anything else? Do you have like fan art that's not Zoya and
well,
Nikolai that you paint?
well, yes. Sorry.
uh but you know, like I have plenty. The reason that I narrow it down to Nikolai and Zoya is so that I don't overwhelm myself. Just like I said in the previous comment of like just do one thing at a time. Right now, I'm just in Nikolai and Zoya land, and I'm gonna ignore all of the other requests people have and just do what I want. But I do have some Six of Crows fan art, which is
Ooh,
the original Grishaverse book that I was really into was Six of Crows. And you see this
wow.
illustration is of a Nej feeding some crows. There's six crows here, I think. One, two, three, four, five, six. I painted it so long ago that like I had to like count the crows. um
Wow, that's incredible. So is this like literally
uh-huh.
your first like this is your first Grishaverse like painting?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ever. Yeah, yeah, my first one ever. Maybe I did a sketch or something before this, but yeah, so Anej was naturally my favorite character. I feel like Anej is like a lot of people's favorite characters.
Yeah, she is.
But yeah, I like scoured the book to find out which wrist her Tanta Helene tattoo was
Oh.
on because she actually like I think she like tried to get rid of it or something like that. It's got like markings on it or something.
Wow.
So yeah, you have a little bit of like that on her wrist right here. So that's like the I was already that level of crazy when I was like painting this stuff.
That's amazing.
Um
And
yeah,
I'm sorry, but it was
uh-huh.
only because now that I see that tattoo that I see the sixth crow. Because at first I was like, there's only 5 crows on here. I don't get it. Where's the sixth one? But actually, yeah, it's all the way in the back.
Yeah, honestly, that's how I get people to look at my paintings for more than 2 seconds on Instagram. I just like put random hidden shit everywhere that I like 1% of the people are ever gonna notice. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's stupid because it's like not very much reward for like more effort, but I don't think that's ever stopped me from doing anything.
Don't let it.
Um, but yeah, I should have like painted like a bunch of hidden knives on a Nej, but I only have the one. And she's at breakfast. It's in the early in the morning, so
Yes.
yeah, she's just cutting up a blood orange.
I was, yeah, that's definitely a very bloody orange. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know, I actually had to look up. I had to Google. This is another level of crazy. I had to Google. Can you feed birds oranges, citrus?
Apparently, crows are okay with it. That
Yeah, it's in small amounts.
wow, that
Yeah.
is amazing. Okay, so
I,
that's
uh-huh.
cool. We know where you
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, so it's definitely like a long weird road to me doing the morning doodles. But
Okay,
I somehow ended up here. Um,
okay. How did you?
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry. I interrupted you.
Oh, oh no, no. Oh, I wanted to talk about daily paintings. There was a point in time where I made a painting every day,
Yes,
which
actually, yeah. Please do
uh,
tell us about these daily paintings. Don't and like, like
uh-huh.
how like I mean, did you give yourself like a time period? I mean, how long did this stuff take? I mean,
I originally gave myself 30 minutes, but then it turned into like an hour, and then it turned into like 3 hours, and then it turned into like 6 hours.
okay,
Like it just like kept on getting like longer like cuz I got like really into it, right? I'll actually show you some of the quick sketches that I did versus like the finished doodles cuz the original morning doodles before I ever started posting them looked more like let's see. Oh, this one's a fun one. Like this, right? Like you could barely read the
okay.
words. It's just like a character that's barely legible or whatever, and I would like send these to my friends because I'm like, I'm sure my friends can decipher this, right? Um,
This is
but like,
important to see. This is incredible. Okay, so this is where
uh-huh.
literally you start. Like this is
Yeah, mhm.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, because like a lot of times I'll draw like on my phone. Like for instance, this drawing is on my phone. You see the vertical, anytime you see a vertical
Oh,
format,
yeah.
it's because I drew on my Galaxy, or not Galaxy, the Samsung Note. Because it
Okay.
has a pen attached to it, right? I specifically got
Oh.
that phone. Yeah, the guys at Verizon were like, "You don't want this phone. You want to wait for a Galaxy. You don't need a Note. People never use a drawing thing on the Note. It's just a waste of money." And I'm like, "You don't know me. Can you just give me the phone? I'm gonna give you my money, and you give me the phone with the pen tablet, okay?"
Stop talking. Just give it to me.
Yeah, in fact, like here's like the actual like phone this is my favorite phone. I only switch phones for weird tech nerd reasons.
Wow.
But yeah,
Interesting.
like yeah, I love the Note phones. But by the way, don't get I
So,
agree with the Ryzen guys, don't get one if you're not gonna use it because it is a waste of money. But if you are gonna use it, then definitely like you have to know yourself because some people don't like drawing on the go, right?
so
Um
do you think, is there a huge difference between using like an Apple product and a Samsung? Like, I mean, do you like, is
oh
there a
there's
preference or do you think is it,
uh-huh.
is it something that the artist has a preference for, or do you think there literally is better
Mhm.
products on one of them?
Okay. So if you want to do a full flesh painting, then an iPad is better. Doing it on the phone is like sucks, right? But if you just want to do like fast note take sketch things or whatever, it's easier to put a phone in your pocket even if it's a huge phone, right?
Yeah.
So like you could have cargo pants and put it in, like I love cargo pants because they could fit this phone, right?
Yes.
Um So yeah, like if you're like, stuck at a place where like you don't want to get your shit stolen, or like if you are standing in line somewhere or whatever, like this small phone is way easier, but you would also need something at home to like finish your painting if you wanted to like finish it, right?
Gotcha.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but people have done full paintings on their phone, like that's fine. It's just like way more tedious than having an
Yeah.
iPad or like a Cintiq or something, right?
I was gonna
Um,
say. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this is like it's just like artist notes, right? You could carry sticky notes. That would actually be much cheaper and just as effective. But then you have to carry sticky notes, so I don't know.
So are the
Uh-huh.
words, are those notes to you? What
Oh
are
yeah.
okay,
I'm usually so it's either notes to me or it's a quote, right?
gotcha.
So like sometimes I don't have words and I just have to decipher what I painted earlier. This one doesn't have any. That has Z's. This is actually Jenya laying on Zoya,
Oh.
which turned into yeah, yeah. But yeah, so let's see if I show this to someone, they'd be like, I don't know who that is, but I remember who it is, right?
Well, I'm
uh,
pretty sure I know what we're about. Like I have a
oh yeah,
feeling that
it's
you're
for
like
this
showing us
one.
these and then yep.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. You
Wow.
remember this one. Yeah. So basically, that previous image you saw, this one turned into this painting, right?
So that's where it
Um,
starts. This is finished product.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's just the fastest way for me to do it. Like if I'm gonna do it in like 30 minutes to an hour and a half or something, like I usually just dig into like my little like notes, which I have a million of, by the way. You've never seen many of them.
Huh.
No one will ever see most of them. But yeah, and then I just like sort of turn it into that. Um
How long do you think
I
it took from that doodle to
Mhm.
this? Like I mean time wise. Like I mean not talk like I mean
This probably took an hour and 30 minutes or something. I could look
really?
at it and estimate like how long it took me.
Wow.
Sometimes it goes really fast. I've done like 30-minute ones before for sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah. Oh, actually,
So
do I have yeah, this one right here was like 30 minutes. I swear
oh my god.
upon my ancestors that this is 30 minutes.
Well, that's
uh,
and see, I love that. That's an incredible one. And what
Oh, thank
exactly,
you.
like, I did wanna ask you because I know what it
Mhm.
is, but what part of the book specifically is that? Is that a specific
Oh,
part of the
it's
book, or
a
is that just
very Yes, it's just a vague line alluding to Nikolai's coronation. It was just
Oh,
like
wow.
Zoya was there at Nikolai's coronation, and that's it. Or I think it was in the church or whatever. So like that was another clue, but like you barely like it was not really that important at all. The quote is Nikolai had rebuilt the royal chapel on the palace grounds, so that's one clue, after the war, and had it consecrated by the apparat himself, a gesture of reconciliation. It was the site of Nikolai's coronation, where the Lancelot crown had been set upon his head, and the moth-eaten but supposedly sacred bearskin of Saint Gregory had been laid upon his shoulders.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually based off of a quote, and it's actually a pain in the butt for me to think of because like I had never drawn that particular chapel before. I just had to make it up on the spot.
It's incredible. And you just have to promise me, please, before
Mhm.
you die, at least I would like to see some pictures of the Zoya coronation. Please, just before you
Yes,
die.
if I don't die before I finish the morning doodles, I will.
Please.
In fact, if I'm on my deathbed early, I will be like, Eric asked for this.
I'll bring you an iPad.
Bring me the iPad.
I'll wheel in my wheelchair and be like, don't forget, please.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. I hope that I don't want this to happen at the same
I
time. I
know.
think it'd be really funny if it would happen.
Yes, it could. So,
Just,
would you show us the? So
mhm,
you showed us I think two other images that were like I
mhm.
wanted to see if like by chance like I mean that were morning doodles
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. This one, the doodle is actually better than the painting.
Oh, okay.
So this happens often because you're more chill when you're doing a fast doodle, and then you're like constipated when you do like a painting, right? So this is an example of like I was like, oh, like
Oh,
I'm gonna like change the angle and everything, and then like
wow.
I'm gonna include Kiergan in there so you could see who it is and whatever, right? But I think that the original doodle was like cuter in a way. I don't know, because she's like done with everything, right? And this one is just like, oh, there's too many things going on. But
That's really cool.
yeah, so in this one, yeah, the painting was really different from the doodle. Whereas like the one with Jenya and Zoya, you could immediately tell it was like exactly the same as like the pose in
Yeah.
the painting almost, right? But yeah, it's like sometimes my doodles just like do not go well and sometimes they're like completely off. Like this one right here is like because they say Grisha rarely gets sick. I have this sketch of Zoya looking over at Nikolai's bed while he's sick and asking what's it like to be sick.
I love her face. She
She's
is
like, huh?
that is a
Oh.
cute face.
I know. Zoya's really cute in my mind, even though people like feel like, oh, she should be like really tough and scary. But
No.
I don't know why I imagine her as cute sometimes. And then this is like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try a different one. And then I'm like, oh, she's like wringing out the towel. But then I'm like, oh, but then Nicola's face is like pretty much against her boobs, and I'm like, I feel like it's not giving the vibe that I really wanted to. so so I had to do a third iteration. I don't have
Oh,
the sketch for this one, but I was like, this is more like motherly caretaking and less boobs to the face, even though there's still boobs against his
right.
head. It's
Well,
not as as forward as the other one.
yeah, the other ones she was like I mean they were in he was in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The twins were saying hello for sure.
That is
Um,
beautiful.
oh, thank you. But yeah, this is actually one of the early drawings I did of like Zoya's bed too. I was like, I don't know why I want her to have a white bed frame, but like I don't know. Just I'm like stuck on certain things and I just can't let go of them sometimes.
I do the same thing. I am
Mhm.
I do get obsessed and I get stuck with things. Like I mean, and I love the I love the blue and gold like the pillow. Like I love that. Like
Mhm.
that's gorgeous.
Oh,
And
thank you. Mhm.
what's crazy is like I would probably spend way too much time trying to figure out the colors for that it would
Uh-huh.
be insane.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Sometimes yeah, I sit there and like well, luckily Zoya and Nikolai have like their colors. Like Nikolai's is like golden blue and Zoya's is like silver and blue, right?
Right.
But and thank you, Leigh Bardugo, for giving them colors. Like I
Thank
didn't
God. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I didn't have to choose anything. But for a lot of things, like, I really like I think for Zoya's outfit in this one, I was like, "What color should it be?" You know?
Whoa.
Yeah, this one the twins are out as well. But but yeah, I was like, I sort of wanted to be something appropriate for like a Kirigan level party, which is like level 9,000 party, right?
This is
Um,
incredible. And by the
uh,
way, this is the hair that I'm talking about that I mentioned in the audio podcast that I fell in love with because how
oh,
cool is
thank
that
you.
hair? Like, come on. Like, I want that hair.
Oh
Um,
man. Mhm.
she is such a badass.
Yeah, I definitely like go over the top with like Zoya and Nikolai being badass just because like I'm like, oh, it's visual, so I can't write, or I'm not writing anything. I'm just like sort of visually portraying what they are. So it sort of has to be theatrical, right? Um,
Wow.
but yeah, and her hair was actually inspired by Lay's describing it as like raven haired, right? And like
Uh-huh.
ravens and crows sort of have iridescent wings. So if you like put them in the light, they're a little bit blue purple, right?
Wow.
So that's like, but I exaggerated to the nth degree. So everyone is like, I get so many messages. I've got at least like, you know, 30 messages of people telling me they're gonna dye their hair blue because Zoya's hair is blue. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like, you don't need to dye your hair to be cool, but like that's cool. I like blue hair.
Yeah, I mean, it is
uh,
beautiful. Wow. Um,
uh,
okay, that is awesome. So
uh-huh.
the Grishaverse, like, I mean, so do we want to, like, I mean, move on
Mhm.
into the King of Scars? Like, I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, but I mean, like, how,
Mhm.
like, I mean, the King of Scars related stuff. Like, I know that you really got on, like, I mean, you started off with the Six of Crows, and
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Mhm.
And then you just kind of decided to start do it. Like, I mean, how did?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, so oh man, I believe I mentioned this in the podcast as well, but like I had been trying to illustrate a book for like
Mm-hmm.
over a decade, right? Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the King Killer Chronicles, I'm gonna try The Witcher, I'm gonna try it with like the Cruel Prince, like there with Uprooted, like there's like so many books that I tried it with, and there was a point where I was like, I'm just gonna like draw this book because I like this book and I don't really care if people like it too, you know. But the other ones I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to make it really good and impress people, right? So that was my like base attitude towards those. And the reason that those never flourished was because I cared too much about what other people thought. And I'm like, I'm gonna illustrate the sixth book in this series because I like these characters. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like I'm not even gonna show it to anybody until like later, so it's fine. And like I basically it was like a complete surprise that people like even liked it because like half the people that follow me have never like read the book, right? Um, they were
Wow.
just like, "Oh, I like the characters based on you drawing them cool." And I'm like, "Please read the book."
Yeah.
But thank you for enjoying my rendition of these two. Which is funny because like people start thinking like, "Oh, this whole series is a romance between these cute characters," and I'm
Oh,
like, "No, this is just a tiny fraction. They're not even like the only main characters. Like, there's still like a whole 50% of the book that I'm not gonna illustrate because it's too much work."
exactly. So,
Uh-huh.
how did you pick what topics or
Mhm.
ideas to paint? Like, I mean, how?
Oh, yeah. So, okay, a lot of people actually, if they were around during the early days of the doodles, they'll see things like this, which are like not canon, or like this, which are not canon, um, or this, which is like not canon, even though I sort of referenced the quote, right? Um, so like the early Zoya and Nikolai doodles were honestly just my mood for the day.
Okay.
So like, and my friends actually noticed this. Like, this one is like I posted this, and then one of my friends messaged me saying, "Is Alex sick?" Because Alex is the name of my boyfriend, right? And I'm like, yes, he was sick a couple of days ago, and that's why I painted this, right? Um, so or like this one, I was just like, really tired. And I'm like, man, if I drank, I could really use a drink right now.
That's
Right?
incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was like Father's Day, my least favorite holiday. But that's like my mood for the day was just like I was feeling hella miserable, right? Um, and then this, I was like feeling really sad because like the state of the world. I'm sure everyone goes through this, especially during pandemic.
Right.
But yeah, I was just like really like in a bad mood. So like a lot of the stuff that I illustrated in the early days of the morning doodles, in the spirit as well of morning doodles, because it's like, oh, morning, it's what I felt that morning or whatever, right? Um, or just like my mood for the day.
Yeah. Some
Mhm,
usually, like, I mean, like, when I think about the art that I do, it really pertains to a lot of, like, I mean, sometimes we don't even
mhm,
mean to, but I mean, we're kind of taking things out of our lives. Like, I mean, when
mhm.
you said that your mood for the day, like, for instance, this one, like, I mean, I don't know, like, do you feel like when you like Nikolai when he was sick, like, I mean, were you sick or was someone else sick? Like, I mean, and
Mhm.
um, I mean, are these like like things that literally like were happening that day? Like, I mean,
Oh,
like,
sometimes it's that day, sometimes a couple days ago. Um, but yeah, like
okay,
sometimes I'll really feel strongly about something,
hmm,
and then not have time to paint it that day. So I have to paint it the next day. But I
yeah,
remembered what it was and I remembered how I felt, really.
absolutely,
But it's definitely like I could generally paint stuff really quickly and clearly if I like really feel like in the mood for it, right? So
yeah,
that's why I like listen to certain like songs or something that will make me feel a certain way to paint a certain thing, right? I sort of have different playlists for like what I'm doing at the time. But yeah, so I it's generally maybe like around the time of, sometimes not exactly that time, but sometimes it is exactly the time. Especially if you're gonna paint every day. I'm like, oh, like it's more likely than not that you made time to express your emotion of that day at that instant, right?
right. I mean,
Yeah. If you paint once a month, then like you have to sort of capture an emotion from a different time sometimes.
absolutely. But I love the
Yeah.
fact that it comes from you. Like, I mean, like, it just makes these paintings come more alive to me. I feel
Mm,
like just
mhm.
because I mean, like, there's more of you in there, and that's amazing. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the early morning doodles are a lot more personal than the later morning doodles for sure.
So, if you look at your Instagram and like your
Mhm.
feed and everything, why did you switch to painting only book quotes, it seems? Like, I
Ah,
mean,
okay. So, this is actually my, I realized that these were pretty popular, right? When I was doing the random emotion doodles and stuff. And I was like, okay, like I could try to keep it going as an ongoing thing, but it would be cool if I sort of like followed through the story, because the story the book has so many defining character moments that sort of describe the characters, like emotionally, their past, like their action, their personalities, their looks, everything, right? That I'm like, it would be great to sort of like be able to visually express all of the things that the book does. So I sort of wanted to challenge myself to like get people to like understand my version of these characters visually. Um, so it's a weird like experiment, I guess, trying to see if I could convince people to like see Zoya and Nikolai the way that I see them. Um, which is funny because I do enjoy other people's versions. Like they're a lot of fun. But it's like one of those things where like I I sometimes want to be like, no, see it the way that I see it, so that like we can both like bond over the same like image of it, right? Um, but yeah, so it's going to be a challenge getting through the whole book. I don't think
yeah.
I made a good life decision, but I made a fun life decision, so we'll see where I end up.
Hey, you didn't sign any contracts. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you literally were gonna go line by line, that
Mhm.
would be insane. And some of these are scenes. Like, I mean, like, so, I mean, I know that some of the ones that I've seen, like, definitely are more like, I mean, yes, it's a couple sentences. It's more like a scene. I mean, some can even like be a scene for like I don't know, maybe it could last a couple pages. You don't have to do like I don't know. I'm
Yeah, that's mhm.
I'm all for you finishing this, so I'm just saying,
Uh-huh.
it's you can't do like a conversation, for instance. You would
Mhm.
just have like the people would still be there. Their facial structure will keep changing throughout the conversation, but
Yeah, sometimes I do like stretch things out just so that I can reuse assets, right? Because I'm like, oh, I could just have them in the same outfit and not have to think about the new outfit for like 30 more images, right? Which is annoying to people, but I'm like, it's free, so you have to deal with it.
absolutely.
But yeah, like it's definitely like an adventure trying to like cobble together the design for the next scenes or whatever. So like the reason I have to stretch it out a lot of the times is just because I'm preparing for the next chapters and it's like a lot of work, especially if it's like a chapter where it's really cool. If it's a chapter where like, oh, they're in a business meeting, then I'm like, oh, like if there's a table, that's all I'm gonna worry about, right? But yeah, like it's definitely like a challenge for me trying to figure out if I want to do like every other line or if I will just want to do every other paragraph or I just want to do three for the whole chapter. Sometimes it just depends on my mood that month. I'm like, I don't feel like painting this chapter completely. So I'll like skip over some stuff, right?
Yeah,
So my pacing is like really dependent on like my mood.
that's fine.
Luckily. Yeah, yeah. Um
So show us some
yeah,
more. What else we
yeah, yeah. A lot of the times I am experimenting in these illustrations and paintings. So like you'll see some of my early ones. The like I like some people are commenting like why is there red in the painting? Is there blood in the walls, right? I was sort of trying a traditional underpainting kind of technique where like they let a little bit of the red underpainting show through. But I realized like, oh, people don't actually understand that concept.
right.
I don't really care if they do because I'm painting it for myself, but I just thought it was funny. But they never get to see stuff like this that I'm showing you now, which is like how the painting started and why it has a little bit of the original sketch underneath, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're just trying to go for like a rustic feel. This similar situation here, but I covered the red a lot more. Um, Nikolai's or not Nikolai, Sturm Hahn's painting right here definitely has a little bit of red showing through, but it's because like, I didn't
Yeah.
get to the shadow and there's blood and all this other stuff. So it sort of matches in that situation. I tried some situations with like line art and like trying to like just sketch stuff in perspective by hand and whatever, right? And like honestly, like I get that people like want to see a consistent thing every day. They're like, there are a lot of people that are like complaining, like, oh, like what? I want to see the full paintings, or I want to, yeah, why did you change your style, right? And I'm like, okay, first of all, I like draw differently every day.
Yeah.
Do I have a style? You might have liked one way I drew last week, but I don't know if that's my style, right? But like yeah, trying like dynamic perspective and whatever. I was like
Wow.
really inspired by Ramon Nunez. He's got like a really interesting dynamic drawings, right? So yeah, a lot of times I'm just like trying out different things, and it's because I have this time that I set aside in the day every morning to just try stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I don't get paid for it, so I don't have to make it good. It's just for me.
That's
And
yeah.
60,000 other people, but
Well, they just came along because they
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was an accident. I didn't mean to drag 60,000 people into this.
Well, just forget they're there. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, and eventually like I sort of just fell into um doing like trying 3D stuff. I think this is one of my earliest 3D uses actually because I wanted to learn Marvelous Designer, and it's sort of like this program that allows you to make clothes, which I love showing videos of because it looks cool. A lot of the
Mhm.
other 3D work that I do looks scary. Like if I accidentally zoom into somebody's skull and you see the back of their eyeball, then you get horrified. That is why I do not record my 3D work, by the way, guys. It's just too many naked people. There's too many insides of skulls. There's too many like weird like body parts bending in the wrong directions while I'm trying to pose characters.
Yeah.
Like That is why I don't show most of my 3D process. I'm sorry, guys. I just Instagram won't allow it. People will start freaking out. People will start calling me out on something like, "Why do you have so many naked people here?" or whatever, right? And I'm just like, I don't have time to deal with that right now.
No, you know what? I'm your PR person. So for those of you out there that have asked those questions and need, like, she's an artist. She's going to do what she needs. She does what she wants. We're going to be happy with what she posts. Thank you. And that's it. If you have any questions, please email me at eric@GrishaCast.com. Thank you.
We're like telling our kids to like eat the vegetables and like eat whatever your mom made you.
Yeah. I mean, you can't complain to an artist about, like, I just find it crazy. So,
well, if it's free, if you paid them for something, then like that's a different story. But I mean, like, I'm literally doing this for my own like happiness and mental therapy.
exactly.
And whatever, so. Yeah, you gotta like understand the context, right? Like, if someone makes something, I'm not gonna immediately go in there and critique them and tell them like, you know, you have to do this and this if you want to get into the industry. Because like, what if they're just doing it for a hobby? Like,
Yeah.
chill, bro. Like, they
Yeah.
don't have to make it perfect, right? But if they come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm trying to get into the industry. I would like to know what I could do here and here," then if they initiate that, then I will let them know my feedback, right?
Yeah.
So that's generally the easiest, chillest way to approach just like how to comment on someone's art or whatever. But no, it's Instagram or the internet. I can't stop anyone from saying anything. So
Exactly. Don't read the
I understand.
I just don't read the comments, you know? I mean, just don't. Because, I mean, there's people
uh,
out there that
uh,
they just are. So, but we're
yeah.
here to,
Uh-huh.
because we love you. So, we're celebrating
Oh, thank you.
your
Yeah.
love.
No, most of my audience is super chill. I get so surprised. I'm like, I'm sure I'm gonna get hate for this. And then I post something, and then like people are like, "This is dope," like crying, screaming, vomiting, like, but in a good way. I love those comments where they're over dramatic, right? And I'm like, wow, like I can't believe there's a place on the internet where people are actually like pretty chill. I only get like an obnoxious message like once in a blue moon. I'm sure it's a numbers game. Like, the higher follower count you have, the more likely you're gonna get like people really annoyed at you. But you gotta remember, like, it's a numbers game.
It
Like,
is.
you're gonna like put a net into the ocean, you're gonna get some stuff that's not a fish, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh
Okay.
man. But yeah. I will model furniture because it is hard to find furniture that I need for the particular, like a particular style of furniture. Like, these are ornate, right? Um,
Wow.
and like honestly, I like would rather just like find a model online and like pay for it and get it. But there's actually not that many models of ornate furniture. So Le Bardugo has cursed me a little by like making the room descriptions like too nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't just use like really terrible furniture. I mean, this bookcase was like a pain in the butt for sure, but I didn't make it clean models, so it's fine.
Hey.
People in video games will know what I'm talking about when I say clean models. Oh, people sometimes want to see like what the raw 3D model looks like.
Yeah, show
So,
us.
all right, I'm gonna show you. It's very close to my painting sometimes, but not all the time. So, for this one, for this painting, that the raw model looks like this. It's pretty close, right? It's like
So, what do you mean? What is,
uh-huh.
I'm sorry, what is raw? Like, I mean, first
I didn't.
draft?
There's no painting. This model right here.
Uh huh.
There's no painting involved.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah. This is all completely in Blender, right? Like the
Okay.
chains, the lantern. I have
Wow.
not I have not painted or like colored any of it. It's all like you see the ground. It's just a texture that I applied to
Wow.
a flat plane, right? And then the trees are actually from like an add-on that you can buy and download for Blender, right?
Yeah.
So which has been one of the most useful add-ons. Definitely get foliage, guys. You don't want to make a tree by hand most
No.
time.
No.
You should learn how to do it and then never do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the raw render. and then this is like what I painted, right? And part of it, honestly, if I could get away with just posting a 3D model and having people just follow along the story that way, I would. But like people have this like they really don't like to see 3D models. They want it to feel like I painted it by hand, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, I guess it doesn't matter that much what people want, but I'm also a professional artist, so I also have to like learn the skills necessary to make people happy. And if clients want to like see a certain type of thing or whatever, then I'm like, I might as well practice doing it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll see, and I want to like learn how to make stuff painterly and stuff. So like,
That's
yeah, I didn't.
gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't paint over the chains. Sometimes I'm like, yo, I got like an hour to do this. Because if I get a 3D model that looks like this, pretty close to what I want, I only have to spend like an hour or two painting it in order to make it look like a painting, right? Um,
So do you
but
think
yeah.
that came out as planned? Like, I mean, like, did you, like, I mean, how?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually am very lucky to have a very like my mind, I can picture images really clearly. I actually thought everybody had this ability until I learned that some people um just cannot do it. Like they can't imagine, like they can't listen to something and then imagine a picture. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have to see an actual photo, right? So there's a range. Some people can do it well, some people can't do it at all. And so I feel like everybody's somewhere in the middle generally, right? But I can imagine something so clearly that like I don't even need a 3D model sometimes. I just like paint it and it's like exactly communicates exactly the idea that I want it to, right? So I don't need it a lot of the times, but if I do, but that's like if it's something I'm passionate about or like think is really cool. If I'm doing client work, a lot of times I have to use a well, I don't have to, but it's easier to just post stuff in 3D and ask them, is this the right pose?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm trying to read their imagination at that point, not my own imagination, right?
Yeah.
But if I have the power of 3D and a very clear imagination, then like I could pretty much make what I imagined, even though it took like 20 years of practicing in order to do it.
Wow.
I used to get very frustrated because I was like, why doesn't it look like what I'm imagining? Because like in my head it was really, really clear, right? I'm like, it's just so frustrating when you have a clear image and you just can't like poop it out on paper, right? Um,
Not yet.
maybe in the future. But now, maybe the last 2 or 3 years, I've only recently gained the skill level to actually communicate what my brain is telling me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so 20 years, guys. Or
hey,
maybe 10 if you're really good.
it's incredible. I mean, compared to me, goodness gracious.
You'll get there one day.
So, did you want to show us any more 3D
Oh,
or?
I'll show you a scary one.
Okay.
Oh, these girls have like no pupils in their eyes, so they look a little bit like zombie
Okay, because I was like,
girls.
scary. This doesn't look good. Okay, got it.
Yeah, if you zoom in really close, and then they're sort of like, wait, hold on. Yeah, they've got like no pupils in their eyes.
Oh
But
wow.
someone would comment on that for sure if I
Of
like
course
just.
they would.
But yeah, so this is like the painting, and I have
Wow.
placed pupils in their eyes and made the kid look like Nikolai. The
Yes.
kid in the 3D model is just some random like appropriately aged kid or whatever. Um,
Wow.
but
That's
I
awesome.
have to make it look like a certain person. But thank you. But yeah, and of course, I have very seriously considered like an animated series where like I do like animated shots of like
Ooh.
moments in the book. So I tested that. And I'm like, how many man hours, how much effort, what kind of equipment, like what do I need to do this? And I sunk like money into this because I was like getting like VR motion capture stuff, whatever, right? And then also like facial motion capture. Like if you were there on that day, you saw a lot of weird experiments of me trying to like animate 3D Zoya and Nikolai models. People were very confused. People were like unfollowing by the droves because they were like, what in the
Oh
world is
no.
this girl But it's okay. I honestly, anytime I try something new, I like get a million unfollows, and I'm like, that's cool because I'm gonna do this weird experiment thing all the time, and I don't want you to be here if it's gonna give you anxiety,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, so I mean, like I mentioned, I didn't even expect these to be popular at all. But yeah, so like I tried rendering this on
Ooh.
3 different computers to see what the lowest power level I could render on was, and 2 of the lower ones crashed. Only 1 computer made it.
Oh.
Actually, no, another computer made it, but at like half the speed, right? So what I mean by rendering is like the computer is taking all the information you want it to like spit out into an image, right? There's math involved, like they're trying to take like what direction the light is coming from, like how the light is hitting objects, if the object is transparent, like what kind of like light bouncing around is happening. Like it's taking all this math and spitting out an image for you, right? And so like that, I was like, I was optimistic at first. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make an animated Grishaverse series. But then like as time went on and I like really thought about it, as it sunk in how much time it took. And then like also like the prospect of me spending so much time on it that I would starve because I wasn't working, right? Like actual money jobs, right? I was like, it is not viable right now. Maybe one day, but I cannot do an animated series. Too much effort. This takes too long.
Oh, I
Uh,
bet. So, goodness gracious. So, for like, do you have rejected paintings at all? Like, I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah. The never seen before. I call it
oh,
my doodle dump, right?
here
So
we go, guys.
basically, basically I have like a bunch of sketches that like a lot of these people have asked for. For instance, this one. You know how Zoya dyes her hair blonde and
Hmm.
Jenya comments that it looks gorgeous, but she says she looks cheap. Everybody asked me to paint this illustration, and I'm like, I've technically drawn it. I just didn't want to paint it yet, right? But yeah, there's like a lot of really dumb sketches that I've done. And we went over the fact that usually draw these really quickly, sometimes on my phone, whatever, right? So there's like a lot of phone drawings. Like let's see. This is super dumb. It's just Demon Nikolai chomping on Zoya's arm. Like this is a level of like idiocy that I get into with a lot of these drawings. Um,
It's
but yeah.
perfect though.
Thank you. Oh, I think there's a really dumb one here. Oh yeah. So this is the demon getting into Zoya's clothing drawers, and there's like one of her bras on his head.
I was wondering what that was.
It's a helmet. That's what kids will tell you. But yeah, I don't like. Oh man, I will never be able to publicly post this because it's too stupid. But here I am. I no longer care if it's stupid.
Well,
uh,
but see,
uh,
this was inspiration because I mean, I don't think you've shown us what your actual demon Nikolai looked like. So I know that this kind of probably was your like inspiration for where you did get to some incredible like Nikolai demon images.
oh yeah, for sure. It's sort of like more like your Halloween costume, actually.
Yeah.
That you're describing, where you're just like
Yes,
wearing shadow clothes.
definitely.
But yeah, definitely like this is like my shorthand version of like Nikolai's demon, right? It's funny. I have a illustration of Demon Nikolai eating a chess piece because Nikolai's trying to teach him how to play chess. And it's one of the first pieces that Leigh Bardugo actually liked. And I'm like, oh, this is so dumb. How can you actually enjoy this?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
But yeah,
You
I would pull it up, but I'd have to like go fish for it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
maybe that'll be
Um,
part of like a little bit later. Maybe we can like post like things later on in the video. Who knows?
oh yeah. Well, it's in my Instagram. So you guys, if you want to go find it, you
It's
can
in
go
there.
dig around.
Go look for
um
that.
oh yeah. Oh, this one is Zoya and Jenya have a dartboard with the Darkling's face on it, but with a mustache. See,
Ooh.
I can read my own sketch, but nobody else can. But yeah, so I thought that was like really cute. Just having Zoya and Jenya having like their own den or something. Um, Oh, this is Tolya. Okay, so nobody can read this but me, but it's Tolya carrying Nikolai in his arms after a drunken night out.
Aw.
And then Zoya is actually hoisted over his shoulder. You see Zoya's rump and like her leg right here. And so he's just like carrying them back to the palace. I just like see them as drunks all the time, apparently. Um, but yeah, thought it was a cute idea. Oh, he
Yeah. Okay,
this
good. I
one.
was gonna say. Oh, sorry.
This is Jenya and David playing poker.
Okay.
Me and some friends are trying to figure out like how Grisha can cheat at poker. So David can actually probably change the material of the card to read as a different card or something. Maybe he could like shift the ink or something around. Nikolai would just really try to learn card tricks from Kaz and suck at them.
Yeah.
Zoya could like use wind to like lift up a card a little so she could see under it. And we're thinking like the most powerful cheat you could have is probably just reading their body signals. Like Tolya and Tamar could probably just check blood pressure or like heart rate or blood pressure or like stress levels in someone and see like if they're cheating or if they're like they have a good hand or not. That's probably the best way a Grisha can cheat at poker.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
incredible. So
But yeah. So there's a lot of like random junk in here. I could go on forever. I have a million more, but we're probably like going on real long. People are gonna start falling asleep.
you are fine. I just want to make sure, like, so, and maybe you can show this in my next question, which is it's kind of
Uh-huh.
so it's kind of two-part question, but I think it's
Uh-huh.
also what painting was maybe the most fun for you to do, and then also
Mm-hmm.
what would have been maybe probably the your least favorite, and um,
Mm-hmm.
in that question, maybe you can also like be able to show some of the final images for some of these, like,
Oh yeah. All right. So my least favorite images to do are generally images where I have to put a lot of effort into a character that will only show up once, right?
ah,
It's my like practically thinking mind. Like I'm like, ah, I have to design a character and like it's gonna go to waste because like no one's ever gonna see them. So that's actually the apparat. So I'm starting with
oh,
the most annoying one. So okay, so I basically just went with like Rasputin from Anastasia.
oh my God, it works.
um yeah, right. But yeah, so I really like stretched him out, even though he only has a tiny part in the book and he like pretty much never shows up again, right? But I was like, I drew him and I will draw him multiple times, even though nobody cares about him because I bothered trying to figure out what he would look like.
I think I'm
uh,
happy you did. Oh my God. Like, cause I mean, these are the things that make me happy because I want to see this stuff. I really do. Like, I mean, huge Grishaverse fans want to see the things that we haven't seen. It's kind of like when you did the Bone Bridge, you know? I mean,
oh yeah.
it's all
Mhm.
these incredible things. Okay, so I love your apparat. Maybe yeah, because he's crazy. Oh my God, there's my Bone Bridge. Yes.
You will call it Eric's bone bridge.
Thank you.
Oh, then here, this is actually a second version of the bone bridge that I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of weird how like I was like, okay, I'm gonna try a different version of it, right? Because there's people are always like, oh, like you illustrated exactly how I imagined it, and then I'm like, probably not accurate. You probably imagined it differently, but like as long as it's convincing enough, your brain will be like, oh yeah, that's the right way to do it.
Absolutely.
Right. But yeah, like two totally different ways to paint the same description, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like this one's like a lot wavier, the bones are like a lot thinner. This one's a little bit more like Flintstones, like giant bones, you know.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, like there's so many like that's why I like seeing different artist interpretations. It's because like they can really if they paint it well and like make it convincing, they can really convince you like that's what you thought it was all along.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's a lot of fun. And
So,
then
oh, sorry.
oh yeah. Uh-huh.
No, you're gonna probably say what I was
Oh
about to
yeah,
ask.
yeah. So I love painting the carriage scenes.
Okay.
So this is the one I actually posted like today. On the
Wow.
and so the reason I love the carriage scenes is because it's a small space. I don't
Mhm.
have to draw a big room with a bunch of furniture. I just draw like a seat in a box with a window, right?
Yeah.
It's like super easy. And then Zoya and Nikolai are like always interacting really closely in those. So there's like multiple carriage scenes that I illustrated for chapter 2. And those were probably like the funnest for me to do just because of the fact that like, it's just them being intimate in like a
Yeah.
small space or whatever. Yeah, it's like super simple, super cute. Oh,
Yeah.
here's another one. Can I just open the image? Oh, it's okay. I'll just like
Ooh, there we go.
but yeah, this is like
Oh, yes.
one of the original like carriage scenes, but I had a lot of fun doing this, and I did it actually really fast. There's a video of me painting it. I pretty much just like painted it. I just sketched it and painted it like real straightforward. I didn't do anything fancy or anything.
Wow.
But it's because I had drawn this carriage so much that like I could just draw it like the back of my hand, right?
Yeah.
And you can see I used curvilinear perspective, which is like you see how the lines are not straight
Yeah.
right here. It's like fisheye. Um, so that was like a fun little experiment. Once you get used to drawing a certain subject, you could draw it different ways more easily, right? So I would say like that topic, the carriage ride scenes are like probably my favorite. But yeah, I also had a lot of fun with like the scenes with where they're in Nikolai's room and they're debating
Uh,
what to do about brides. Just because like I had made a whole set for it, and so like I could just move stuff around and like have fun with that. Um, but yeah, so like I sort of like had two wine glasses, I had table, chair, characters, and I just like moved them around for like, you know, a couple of weeks.
yeah.
But yeah, this one was like super fun to do too. So yeah, those are probably my two funnest ones.
That is and that's awesome, and I think the most important thing is, like, I mean, there is no right answer. Whatever was the most fun for you, that's the right answer. That's yours. That's so
Good, I'm not being quizzed.
No, you are not being quizzed. No, not this time. Well, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Do you like, I mean, I'm so glad we got to do this, and thank you so much, and I think we really just kinda just barely hit just, like, the tip of the iceberg, so we might have to have another video sometime because
There's a story behind every drawing. People will probably grow old before I finish telling all of them.
well
uh,
well, do not forget because don't worry, I'm still gonna come to you when I'm older and, ask for that ask for that
uh-huh.
image of Zoya's coronation. So, okay, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and yes, everybody go and check if you want to see more images, please check out Kolarp's all her socials. I pretty much watch Kolarp on Instagram, and it's at Kolarp Em, and amazing stuff. And so that's spelled KOLARPEM. Is that right, Kolarp? Did I get it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we're good.
good. And then, hey, if you want to start following GrishaCast, follow us. But this was so much fun. We're definitely going to do more of it. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'll see you later, Kolarp. And thank you, listeners. And thank you, viewers. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.